Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about needs assessments or needs evaluations. This is a critical process for identifying gaps and ensuring that programs and services effectively meet real needs. Before we dive in, let's clarify that a needs assessment is not about identifying problems, it's about defining priorities and guiding action to address needs. So we're going to continue with our cooking metaphor. A needs identification is a lot like deciding what you want to cook for dinner. First, before you cook, you're probably going to be recognizing some hunger in yourself or the people you cook for. You notice your family might be hungry. This is called identifying a gap. A gap is a term we're going to cover in future slides. After you recognize that people are hungry, you might check the refrigerator. You can see what ingredients you have. This is called gathering data. After this, based on what you have in your refrigerator and how hungry people are, you can start comparing this to a recipe or looking for a recipe where you figure out what's missing and you can analyze the gaps and see what you can address with what you have. Lastly, you'll be choosing your meal, which is where you decide what to cook based on what is needed most, which is prioritizing based on your prior needs assessment data. Within needs assessments, needs evaluations, we have goals, we have definitions. A needs assessment is basically a systematic process used to identify gaps between what is and what should be. So we're acknowledging and studying the current state of things and imagining and postulating where they could be if they were to improve. We're also looking to determine the causes of performance issues, which are the key areas of where we want to address and apply our programs. And then we can assess unmet or future needs of a group or population or organization, finding out who we're going to be helping. With this, we'll be providing a data-driven justification for our programs, services, and resource allocation. In short, this ensures that we act on real needs, not just assumptions or preferences. Within this, we have a few key concepts. We have the gap, which is the difference between actual and desired outcomes. This is the difference between how hungry you are before you cook and how satisfied you are after you're done eating what you cooked. We have knowledge versus skills. This is an important distinction between what people need to know versus what they need to be able to do. Very often, it's easier to build knowledge. It's slower and more difficult to acquire skills. We also have competencies, which are combinations of knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed for success. We have unmet needs, which are needs that exist but may not be recognized yet, that are soon to be discovered in the needs assessment. And lastly, a good needs assessment will help uncover both recognized and latent needs, guiding effective solutions. In order to conduct a needs assessment, we have a three-phase approach. Phase one is the pre-assessment or the exploration phase. In this stage, we define the problem or the gap. We identify the key stakeholders who are involved in experiencing the gap and addressing the gap, and we establish the assessment goals of what we want to know during this stage. Phase two is assessment and data gathering. In this stage, we collect quantitative and qualitative data. We analyze the causes of the need. What is the root of the problem that we're trying to address? And we also determine the extent of the issue. Is this a large-scale issue? Is it diverse across different groups? Is it experienced differently by different populations? There are a lot of interesting things to learn in this stage. Lastly, there's the post-assessment, the utilization phase. In this point, we prioritize findings based on their potential impact. We develop actionable recommendations of where we think we can actually cause changes. When we share results with stakeholders to drive this change and change decision-making processes. A well-structured needs assessment leads to meaningful action, not just reports. And that's one of the most important parts about this type of assessment is we're really looking for meaningful action and outcomes that can be utilized by people, not just data that is collected for a science project, so to say. There are multiple ways to collect data in a needs assessment. We can start with surveys and questionnaires, a very good way to gather broad input quickly. These sorts of things can be demographic variables, distributions of stakeholders' well-being, a variety of different things. If we want to go deeper, we can use interviews and focus groups. Interviews are usually one-on-one, where we ask semi-structured or structured interviews to get deep data. Lastly, we have focus groups, where we have groups of people collecting and conversing and validating each other's thoughts as we ask them similar questions. Beyond interviews and focus groups, we can have observations where we can understand real-world behaviors and challenges. We might have a researcher or evaluator go on site to see the intake-outtake processes at a clinic, to see outbursts and behavior changes at schools. Anything that is not related to a direct individual, we would go make observations about the environment. We can also look at existing data and reports, leveraging historical trends and benchmarks. This is a classic type of data to use in needs assessment. We have a lot of pre-existing data about accessing goods, accessing services. A lot of these are used to quantify and measure the extent of a problem and the extent of how resources are being used. And with all these together, it's good to use a mix of qualitative and quantitative methods to look at a full picture of the needs. We have the counts and we have the descriptions. They're very important to use together. To summarize a needs assessment and needs evaluation, mainly what we're looking for is to identify gaps and inform decisions to address stakeholders and needs that a program can be applied to. It follows a structured approach, including pre-assessment, assessment, and post-assessment, and includes strong data collection methods which lead to effective solutions. When doing a needs assessment, stakeholder involvement is the key to success. It's very important for the people involved in the program to have input as to what would be most useful, most valued, and most utilized when you're implementing your program. Next, we'll be looking at real-world examples and how do we actually take the ideas found in a needs assessment and apply them to constructing a program.